Good morning. Man, you guys gassed me up too much. My wife is going to be disappointed in all of you. Hey, welcome to YX. Glad you guys are here. If we haven't met before, my name is Juan. I have the privilege of being one of the pastors. And we are starting a new series today as we gear up towards Easter. Now, if you're not familiar with Easter, Easter's like Super Bowl 2.0 for churches, so it's going to be awesome. We got like 7 services coming up in 2 weeks where we talk about Jesus coming back from the grave and what that means for us as believers. It's an awesome time, so I want to invite you to that in 2 weeks. But for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be looking through key moments that lead over to Easter. So this series, we're talking Walk With Me, these key moments of Jesus on earth. Before we start, I want you to answer a question with the people around you. If you knew that you were going away for a very long time. Maybe you are going to prison because you stole a Tootsie Roll. Or maybe you're going on a mission trip somewhere. Maybe you're going on a vacation somewhere. And you know you're not going to be in Santa Clarita with your family in America for very long. What would be your final meal? Like, is it something the mom cooks really well? Is it like a local chain? What would it be? Go ahead and tell your neighbor. Go for it. Give you a couple minutes, couple seconds, not minutes. What would it be? And there is no wrong answers, because when I share my answer with you, you're either going to think I'm disgusting or you're going to agree with me. And I'm good either way. What would be your final meal? Final meal. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. All right, somebody give me one. What's your final meal? Raise your hand. Mom's enchiladas? Carne asada, so you're not going on a mission trip to Mexico because you can get better carne asada there. Mom's cooking, yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Dom? Dave's Hot Chicken. Yeah, baby. Okay. 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 Yes. In-N-Out. All of you are, you're entitled to those opinions. They're wrong, but you're entitled to those opinions. Because about a year ago, I got to go to Ireland on a mission trip. And it was awesome. Ireland was dope. The food was really good. And then we came back home, and we landed in Dallas-Fort Worth before we got our connecting flight to Denver. And I was like, as soon as my feet touched American soil, I was like, there's only one place that I need to run to. And I have flown through DFW enough times to know exactly where this place is. It is in the B terminal, right across from B10. And we were in C terminal, and I needed to get to my connecting flight, which is also in C. So I had an hour to get on the tram, go to B, go to B10, get the food, back to C. So I run, and I see the beautiful sign of Popeye's Chicken. Popeye's fried chicken, baby, Louisiana kitchen, and they got the and the biscuit and the blackened tenders and the mashed potatoes that you dip your chicken into, and now that's where I'm going for lunch today. And I was so excited to go to Popeye's Chicken. And here's the thing about last times, right? The last time you're going to be here, the thing about last times is that in the moment, a last time can feel really insignificant unless you and I know that it's the last time. And last times can very often be meaningful moments, but in the moment, we pass them off as just another thing. Man, I wish I knew the last time I was gonna play a tennis match. In high school, I played tennis for 4 years, varsity. I played tennis growing up. And man, I had my tennis bag and all my rackets, and I lived out of this bag. And I remember taking my shoes in and out and taking old rackets and putting new ones in and sifting through the tennis balls, which ones work, which ones don't. And I did that for years, for 10 plus years I did that. And then one day, if you really think about it, one day, after my tennis game, I took my racket and I put it back in my bag and I zipped it up, and I just never opened that bag ever again. I wish I would have known the last time that I was going to hang out with my friends from high school. Like, I had the same group of friends through high school. There was like a ton of us, but there was about 4 of us that were like the core group of friends. And we did everything together, and we hung out all the time. And one day, we were done hanging out, and I was leaving my buddy's house with all my boys there. And I said, all right, I'll see you guys later. And that was the last time I ever saw my friends. That was the last time I ever got to hang out with them. But in the moment, I didn't know that was going to be the last time. Man, I wish that I would have known the last time I was going to see my great-grandma. My mom had me when she was really young, and so my mom was going to college, still trying to get her degree, and my great-grandma essentially raised me. And sometime in college, so around 2013, I flew to Costa Rica to see my family, and I spent some time with my family. And then at the end of that visit, I drove to the airport, and I got on an airplane in 2013, and I waved bye to my family, and I said, yeah, I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys when I see you. And I really wish that somebody would have told me that was the last time I was going to see my great-grandma alive. And that's the thing about last times that you and I don't understand, and you won't understand until you live a little bit more life, is that someday you're going to look back at your last of something, and you're going to realize that in the moment, it didn't mean much, but when you know it's your last time, man, I wish I could get that moment back. And this is where we find Jesus in the story of the Last Supper. This is their last time. This is their last meal that they're going to have together before Jesus gets taken into trial, gets beaten, gets mocked, gets spit on, and ultimately carries his own cross up the mountain to be crucified and killed for you and for me and for the sins of all. But they don't know it. The disciples have no clue. They think this is just another hangout. They think this is just another dinner, but Jesus knows. Jesus knows that this is the last time gathering together. They have done so much life together. They have eaten meals together. They have seen miracles together. They have walked all over the ancient world together. They have seen Jesus cast out demons. They have seen Jesus walk on water. They have seen Jesus feed the 5,000. They have seen Jesus raise the dead. They have seen everything with Jesus, and they have zero clue that this is the last time that they're going to sit across a table from Jesus. John 13:1, it says, before the guys, and this, I got a side note here. This verse, and it breaks my heart because you see the love that Jesus had for his friends in this verse. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to the Father. This sentence, he had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. It was the end. The last time. And they had zero idea that this was the last time. Now, Passover, if you're not familiar with it, Passover was a celebration time where they would remember the exodus from Egypt. So Israel in the Old Testament, thousands of years before Jesus, they were enslaved to the Egyptians. And God told the Egyptians, hey, you need to let go of the Israelites. They're my people. And the Egyptians kept saying no. So God said, okay, if you don't let them go, I'm going to send a plague that is going to kill the firstborn son of every family in the land. And the only way that you get to miss that is if you take a lamb, you slaughter it, and you take the blood of the lamb and you put it over the posts of your door. And if that blood is there, when my spirit comes through the land and it sees the blood on the post, it will pass over your house and nobody will die in that house. The firstborn son won't die. And so thousands of years later, the Israelites are free from Egypt, and so they would celebrate this Passover feast. And that's where they're sitting at. But I want you to put yourself in the shoes of Jesus for just a second. You're sitting there at dinner, your last hangout with all your friends, and you know this is it. This is it. You got no more time left after this. Why would you say to them? They have no clue. They're probably just chumming it up, laughing, having a good time, telling inside jokes. And Jesus is just sitting back and just watching. What would you leave them with? Because you know that this is the last time. And for that reason, I think that this instance is so important for us to look at. This particular time is referenced in all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, first four books of the New Testament in your Bible. This account is written in there in all four of them, and that's so important that I think we need to understand what Jesus is trying to teach them and trying to teach you and me. The first thing is this: Jesus was willing to get up off the table, lay it all aside, and get low. So Jesus was the perfect example of a servant leader, and he leads his disciples at his last moment. He leads them on how to be servant leaders. John 13, verses 3-5. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything and that he had come from God and would return from God. Don't miss that. Jesus knew the pecking order. Jesus knew who was top dog. Jesus knew who had the power in this situation. It's not lost to him the fact that he is the Son of God and that if anybody deserves to be served, it's him. He knows where he stands in the hierarchy while he's doing this. So he got up from the table, the Son of God. He got up from the table, he took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, poured water into a basin, and then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. Now, if you're not super familiar with the story, let me break this down for you. Washing feet was not the job of a leader. Washing feet was not the job of the boss. Washing feet was ultimately given to the lowest of the lowest of the lowest servants, because that was a job that was beneath people of power. Because the fact is, in 2025, feet are disgusting. Imagine feet 2,000 years ago when we didn't have indoor plumbing and people were like taking their poop and pee and chucking it out the window into the streets. And so you're like walking all day on these things, so your feet are nasty. They're caked in dust. They're caked in all kinds of grossness. They got calluses. You got bunions. You're not cutting your fingernails. You haven't bathed in a week. And so the custom was when you have somebody come off the streets into your house to eat a meal, the lowest of the lowest of the lowest would sit at the door with a basin of water and they would wash the feet of the guests so that they could walk into the dining room, sit down, and eat a meal. This was not a job for a teacher. This was not a job for a master. This was a job for a slave. And we know that the custom was that water was placed at the front door, because you would do that as soon as you walked in the house. So what does that tell us? It tells us that one by one, every single one of those disciples of Jesus, they walked into the house, they saw the bowl of water and the towel, and they said, not my job. And they walked on by. And Peter walked by and he looked, nope, that's for the slaves, not for me. I get to walk with Jesus. That's not my job. And Bartholomew and Judas and every single one after the other, not my job. And we find Jesus and he's sitting there. They couldn't be bothered. And Jesus looks down and he's like, after years of walking with me, and you still don't understand it, let me show you. And so Jesus gets down and he washes the feet of the disciples. Somebody that knew that he was given power through God and where he belonged, and he chooses to get down low and wash the feet of the disciples. And this was a huge disconnect on how things were supposed to be done, because the people in power did not serve the powerless. But Jesus had it completely backwards, because that's the way Jesus does with the world of today and with the world of back then. He takes the power structures and he flips them upside down, because that's not the way things are done in God's kingdom. It didn't make sense to anybody back then, and this is a perfect way for us to look at what service is supposed to look like. Service, Jesus shows us that service needs to be vital, valuable, and vast. 3 V words, you can remember it. You're welcome. Vital. Service is important. Service is part of what we do. Service is not just a thing you do or I do whenever it's convenient. Service is part of how we do life. It is a lifestyle. Valuable. Service should cost you something. Service shouldn't be a thing, I serve people when it's convenient for me. That's not service. That's called being like selfish. Oh, it fits my schedule, so I'll go ahead and do it now. No, true servant leadership costs. Because what did it cost Jesus? He had to leave his seat at the table. He had to get down on all fours and scrub dirty feet. Jesus is showing us service costs, and vast, meaning that there is no act of service that is below me. Because a lot of times when we think about service, we're like, well, I'll do this job because then I want people to see me. Like, oh man, that dude's crushing it over there. Oh man, that girl's doing such a good job over there. Kudos to you, kudos to you. But those unseen jobs, are you willing to do those? Are you willing to get up off the table for it to cost you something? Are you willing to not walk by the basin of water and understand that there is no hierarchy when it comes to serving? And that's what Jesus is showing. And the next thing that Jesus shows in the Last Supper is this, that Jesus shows us the true meaning of cleansing. In John 13, verses 6-8, cleansing, fancy word, cleaning, being made new. It says, when Jesus came to Simon Peter, he's washing feet. Peter says to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus replied, you don't understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will. No, Peter protested, you will never wash my feet. And Jesus replied, unless I wash you, you do not belong to me. Now, Jesus isn't talking about like, unless I physically wash your feet, you don't belong to me. We all know Jesus often spoke in riddles and in metaphors. And so Peter immediately is like, Jesus is like, unless I wash you, you don't belong to me. And Peter's like, whoa, really? Wash my hands, wash my hair, wash my chest, wash my back. Like if you need to wash my feet, then just wash it all. That's not what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying, unless I cleanse you, unless I take all of the sin that engulfs your life, unless I take all of the mess that is in your soul, in your heart, in your mind, and unless I wipe it off, take it upon myself and give you new life, then you don't belong to me. Then you don't have salvation. Jesus is saying, let me take this load, this yoke that is weighing on your shoulders, and let me clean you so that you can belong to me, so that you can have life with the Father. And this wasn't the lesson that they expected from Jesus in this moment. This isn't what they expected Jesus to say. If anything, I bet you what Peter expected Jesus to say was, Lord, no, you can't wash me. Like, you're Jesus. You're not supposed to wash me. Peter probably expected Jesus to stand up and be like, you know what, Peter? You're right. I don't have to wash your nasty, dirty feet. You're my disciple. I am the master. Why don't you get down on all fours and you wash my feet? I shouldn't be having to walk around here washing all y'all feet. You guys should be lined up to wash my feet because I'm the master. That's probably what Peter expected to happen. And sometimes we expect God to move in ways, and he doesn't, and we think, man, our way would have actually been better, but in reality, it wasn't. And so the question is, when God moves in ways that you don't expect, can you continue to trust that his will is better than yours? Can you continue to trust that he's got something better and bigger for you? The next thing is that Jesus shows us that true faith is an active faith. There is a big difference between knowing the right thing and actually doing the right thing, right? I can know the right thing, but if there's no action following that, then it doesn't really add up. I have a 3-year-old son, and it's really funny how the way God works. I was writing this sermon at home, and it was nap time. And so I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get home, I'm going to get the kid fed, and he's got a nap time routine, and Mav knows the drill. We go into his room, we turn on his sound machine and his little like nightlight thing, and then he gets rocked like on the rock. I don't actually hit my kid. Rocked on the rocking chair. And so I rock him for 3 minutes, and I sing him a song from Tarzan, and then I lay him in his bed, and sometimes I lay down with him for like 2 minutes, and I say, all right, buddy, time to go to sleep. And then I always tell him, I said, hey, you don't have to go to sleep, but you cannot leave your bed. You have to stay in your bed. You don't have to sleep, but you have to stay in your bed. And so I put him in his bed, and he knows what he's supposed to do. And I go sit down at the dining room table, and I put the baby monitor next to my computer, and I had actually a different illustration that I was going to tell you guys, and I'm writing it out, and then I'm watching this freaking kid get up out of the bed, and he goes over to his toys. And he's like, and he doesn't know that there's a camera in the room, and he's just like, and he like grabs his little cars, and then he's squatting down playing with his fake eggs that he's got to help him with matching things. And I get on the monitor, and I'm like, Mavi, you're supposed to be in bed. And he runs to his bed, and he like dive bombs into his pillows, like, closes his eyes. And I'm like, okay. And I keep doing my thing, and then like 2 minutes later, and he like sneaks out of bed, and he knows what he's supposed to do. He knows he's not allowed out of bed. He's not dumb. But just because he knows what he's supposed to do doesn't mean he's actually going to do the thing he's supposed to do. John 13, 15 through 17, this is Jesus talking. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I tell you the truth, slaves are no greater than their master, nor is the messenger more important than the one that sends the message. Now that you know these things, pause. Now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them. So Jesus doesn't say, now that you know these things, you're good. He says, now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them. And Jesus is talking about the idea of obedience. And I know that's a scary concept, especially in high school, because I remember what it was like to be in high school. I don't like being told what to do. Heck, as a 33-year-old man, I don't like being told what to do. Obedience is hard because I believe that I have the answers. I believe that I'm the smartest person in the room. So why don't I get to make my own choices? Why do I have to be obedient? And here's the thing, if you look at Christianity as just a big list of do's and don'ts, then I can see why the word obedience rubs you the wrong way. But here's the beauty of it, is that Jesus' ministry on earth showed us that Jesus doesn't just come down and say, hey, do this and don't do that. Jesus instead came down to earth and showed us how to do life well. He led well so that we couldn't be like, well, you just tell me what to do and what not to do. And Jesus is like, no, I lived it. I came and I gave you the example so that you could see that I went through the things you went through. So that when I say, hey, this is a better way to live life, I actually have ground to stand on when I share that with you. He's not barking orders at you. He's not barking orders at me. He's actually just saying like, hey, I actually have a better way that you can live life that's going to save you a whole lot of heartache if you just trust me, because I want what's best for you. Doing versus just knowing is the key. And the final thing, and perhaps the most important part of this dinner, is when Jesus introduces the new commandment. Jesus introduces this new commandment. After washing and talking, Jesus tells them the reality of what's about to happen. He says, hey, there is one of you that's actually going to sell me out tonight. One of you today is going to backstab me. One of you today is going to sell me out to the authorities. And he breaks a piece of bread, and they're all, like the disciples are like, is it you? Is it you? Is it me? Who is it? And Jesus said, and he takes a piece of bread and he says, the one that's going to betray me is the person I give the bread over to. And he looks at Judas, and he gives Judas the bread. And he tells him, go do what you need to do. And so Judas gets up out of the table. He runs into the night to sell Jesus out to the authorities to be crucified. And on the heels of this, so this just happened, right? Like Jesus, Judas, you're good. Go do the thing you need to do. Go sell me out. The disciples are like, it was him? He's the one that's selling you out? And Judas runs out. And as soon as Judas is out the door, Jesus says this. So now, I'm going to give you a new commandment. Love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Jesus just got sold out by one of his closest followers, and he could have said all kinds of things, and he could have been like, whoa, stop him. He's the one that's sending me to the cross. Grab him. He's a bad apple. Don't believe him. He could have begged Judas, don't do this, Judas. I don't want to be crucified. I don't want to die. And right after he gets sold out, he decides to have a conversation with everybody and say, hey, I know I just got sold out. Love each other. Hey, I know that I just got sold out by one of my closest followers. Love each other. Because the way that you love each other is how you're going to share the gospel with the people around you. That's how they'll know that you are one of my followers. Not because you can preach, not because you know the Bible stories, not because you attend the clubs and you've read your Bible cover to cover and you know all the worship songs. No. Because of your love is how people will know that you follow me. And so why does Jesus choose to end with love? Why does he choose to end with this new commandment where he could have ended in so many different ways? Well, for starters, Jesus knew that love is like air. We actually need love to exist. We need to know that somebody loves us and cares about us, and people need to know that we love and care about them. Love is the perfect, strong foundation. That the rockiest of relationships make it through storms in life because they are rooted in love. I am far from the perfect husband. I know I fail as a husband time and time again, but the only reason that my wife puts up with me is because she loves me. I am far from the perfect Jesus follower. I am far from the perfect Christian. But the only reason that God hasn't thrown in the towel on me is because he loves me. And that is the foundation of our salvation. And in humility, we serve others because we love them. Love is where life is truly lived, and love is the price that was paid for our salvation in the final days. I love the way author Ginger Harrington puts it this way. Without love, we are bankrupt souls, and our greatest work turns to dust into the light of eternity. Guys, that's the power of love that was displayed by Jesus when he went to the cross and as he taught his last lesson to his buddies before he was killed. The Last Supper was more than just a famous painting. The Last Supper was more than one last hurrah between a bunch of buddies. The Last Supper was more than Judas the betrayer and Peter the denier and any of the disciples. The Last Supper was so much more than that. It was Jesus using his final moments with his disciples to demonstrate that true love and true faith is lived through humble service, sacrificial love, obedience, and he gave us a roadmap for a life that is rooted in love, even though we go through betrayal and uncertainty. Because even though Jesus was literally facing the betrayer face to face before he ran out the door, even though they were uncertain about what was going to happen when their rabbi was taken to the cross and killed, Jesus ended it all by saying, love one another. Love each other, and that's how people know that you come from me. Let me pray for us, and we'll keep moving. God, I thank you for your word. I thank you for what we can learn from your scriptures, Father, and that your final commandment before you left earth to your followers, Jesus, that it is rooted in love. And so, God, I lift up our students today, God, that they would go out and they would love people and they would serve people out of the love that is in their hearts. God, that they would be shining examples of what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus because of the way that they love their community, their family, their friends, their teammates, their teachers, their co-workers, whoever they come in contact with, that the people in this place would know that the students of this church are loving people that are here to cast the love of Jesus on people. And that they would know that there's something different about this generation because of the way that they recklessly love one another and those that look different than them. God, we love you and thank you for loving us so much and sending Jesus to die on the cross for us. Lord, thank you for that sacrifice and the fact that you defeated sin and death for the final time. Lord, I pray every day of our lives that you will remind us of who we are and whose we are. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.